Hi class, in this video we'll be doing the example wet county. Erath County is considering becoming a wet county. A poll of 500 randomly selected county residents showed that 220 of the residents support the measure of becoming a wet county. In part A, I want to find the 95% confidence interval estimate of the population proportion P of those in favor of becoming a wet county. In part B, I'm going to be asked, in order for the ballot to a measure to pass, 50% of the county residents must vote in favor of the measure. Based on the confidence interval, do you think the ballot measure will pass? Okay, so the first thing I'm asked to do is to find my confidence interval estimate. Okay, so I'm going to come over to my formula chart. Notice that in 7.1, I am working with a proportion. So I'm going to look at that far left column of my formula chart and look for where it says P for proportion under parameter. All right, and then I'm going to go over in that row, and I'm going to go over to the right until I find the confidence interval. Okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use the by hand formula that you see here, P hat minus E for the lower limit and P hat plus E for the upper limit. I'm going to use the calculator function 1 prop Z interval. Okay? Now we just saw for 1 prop Z interval, I'm going to need some information to tell my calculator here. I'm going to need an X. I'm going to need an X, an N, and my confidence level. All right, so X is the number of successes. In this problem, we are going to consider it a success if a person is in favor of becoming a wet county. And my problem tells me that 220 support the measure of becoming a wet county. All right, so that means my X is going to be 220. My N is going to be the number of trials. Usually this is going to correspond to your sample. And I'm told that I had a poll of 500 randomly selected residents. So that means my sample, or my total number of trials, is going to be 500. And then part A tells me that I want to find the 95% confidence interval. So my confidence level is going to be that 95%. I'm going to have to convert that to a decimal to be 0.95. All right, so on the formula chart, we just saw that we are going to use then 1 prop Z interval. And 1 prop Z interval is going to ask for X first, so that's going to be 220. N second, which is 500, and then the confidence level, which is 0.95. Just a quick note, if you're on the old OS, when you get to the 1 prop Z interval function, you are going to be taken to the home screen where you'll be asked to enter in X, N, and the confidence level, and it's going to look just like I have it here. 1 prop Z interval, parentheses, 220, comma, 500, comma, 0.95, and then you'll close your parentheses and hit enter. All right, for those of us with the new OS, you'll be given a list. So let's see what that looks like. All right, so to get to 1 prop Z interval, I'm going to hit stat. I'm going to go to the right till I get to this tests menu, and then I have to scroll all the way down till I get to option A, which is 1 prop Z interval. Once I get to option A, hit enter. And now again, this is the new OS, so you see the list on your screen. For the new OS, you'll type it out just like I have described it on the slide on your home screen. Okay, so here I have some information from a different problem, so I'm going to have to change up my stuff here. So the first thing it asks for is X, which in my case is going to be 220. And then my N is going to be 500, and my confidence level is 0.95. All right, and then I hit enter. And my answer is going to be the first entry there that has the 2 numbers inside parentheses. Okay? Now my problem wanted me to round to 3 decimal places. My problem wants me to round to 3 decimal places. This is going to be pretty standard for working with confidence intervals. So my lower confidence limit is 0.39649. So I'm going to just chop off the last two decimals there, and I'm going to keep it as 0.396. My upper confidence level is 0.48351. So I'm going to round that to 0.484. Okay? All right, so my confidence interval is here. Recorded on my slide is 0.396, comma, 0.484 in parentheses, so that those two limits are in parentheses for the interval notation. On your homework, you'll probably have your lower limit less than P, less than your upper limit. Okay? So that'll look like 0.396, and you'll put that in less than P. You may be asked to select which parameter that you're working with, and then less than your upper limit, which you would type in 0.484. And you'll be good to go for Part A. Now Part B asks, in order for the ballot measure to pass, 50% of the county residents must vote in favor of the measure. So based on the confidence interval, do you think the ballot measure will pass? So I'm going to look at this 50%. Okay? Now, based on Part A, my proportion is going to lie between 0.396 and 0.484. These are a proportion which I can also represent as as percentages. All right? So I can multiply my upper and lower confidence limit by 100 to represent those two proportions as percentages. So 39.6% less than P less than 48.4%. And I'm going to look at that 50%, and I want to ask myself, does that proportion of 50% lie inside that confidence interval? Is it between 39.6 and 48.4? No. So 50% is not in my confidence interval, so no, I do not think the ballot measure will pass. So I'm going to say no, 50% is not in my confidence level or interval.